Kevin Gallagher with CTV National News. Good morning, Mr. Polyev.
Good morning.
So the United States has recently put in a order that would require COVID test results for those traveling from China. Would you want to see Canada follow suit? Where would you stand on something like that?
Well, conservatives are following this very carefully, and we know that the case numbers in China have exploded over the last several weeks. We haven't yet decided whether we're going to call for the government to impose a mandatory test or vaccination at the border for incoming Chinese flights from China. But we will watch it very carefully, and we'll base our position on science and numbers. As you recall, 2 years ago, we originally said the border needed to be closed to China after COVID began. The government refused to do so for, I think, over 60 days. We were listening to the data at that time, and we're listening to it now. But at this point in time, we're not making a public statement for or against mandatory testing at our ports of entry from China. We will keep you posted on our position, though.
Okay. On a previous question about the high rates of COVID in China, you said you would listen to the science on questions of mandatory testing, vaccine requirements at the border. In any future contagion of any sort, would you consider scientific advice on whether to impose testing requirements and vaccine requirements within Canada, or would those mandates only ever apply to non-citizens? So
I oppose the mandatory vaccination policy of the federal government because I believe that there was a scientifically supported way to prevent the spread of COVID, and that was through giving people the option to be tested regularly. And based on the data that I've seen, if people are tested negative in a given day, they're not zero risk to transmit, but they're significantly lower risk. And that would have been a reasonable way to allow people the freedom and the personal autonomy over their bodies to decide what they do with the vaccine. And that's the policy that I took in the COVID crisis. It's the policy that I think is the right one. And you're asking me to comment on what I would do on if there was some new pandemic that we haven't heard of. I can't comment on that because I haven't seen that pandemic. We would be inventing a virus, and I'm not in the business of, I don't have a laboratory in which to do that, and I don't want to. So I can't answer a question about a hypothetical in that nature, but I do stand by the position that I took to give people the freedom of choice on vaccines here in Canada, and I stand by it.